All I've seen from the videos on here about the Stream Deck Plus XL, is a bunch of people going, "Ooh, it's so ridiculously big. Might be too much. Too big?" That's what she said. Sorry. But can it be used like by a normal dude who's working on his computer all day? Let's see if I can transform this into a usable and necessary part of my studio. I gotta say, it's funny because I showed this to my son and even he said, "No one needs that many buttons." And he's a gamer. And I think a lot of us are looking at this thing and reacting to it as gamers. And I kind of get that. I mean, it's Elgato after all. But what if it wasn't fully or completely released for gamers? Kind of like this Stream Deck Studio, which was released for actual studio work. This is more of an editor's dream. And of course, for the hardcore professional streamer setup, I'm sure this thing is going to be amazing. But for this video, we're going to look at my specific use case and, well, my workflow as an editor, YouTuber, and all-around studio rat. So I should clarify, this isn't my first Stream Deck or Stream Deck Plus for that matter, but it is the first that I've actively tried to use. You see, I bought the Stream Deck Plus with the XLR dock a few years back, and honestly, I liked this Stream Deck, but with only 8 buttons, it really didn't hit the mark for me. It was too limited, so it sat on my shelf. And I really didn't dive into what you can do with these things. Now, of course, from a gamer's perspective, I am well aware. But from an editing perspective, there's way more that you can do with 36 buttons, right? But in planning this out, this is where I kind of stumbled, because this isn't just about filling it up with buttons that work with Audition or Final Cut. This is about actual usefulness, and a lot of my actions and movements when editing are kind of almost subconscious now. So where do I trim the fat? Now, you might have a different experience setting yours up, but for me, this is the process that worked the best. So I sat down to edit, and every time I had to take my hands away from the keyboard or move the mouse to the top of the screen, I made a note of it, because that indicated there are no easy shortcuts being used at that time. And the list actually wasn't all that small. Now, most of that had to do with how I personally edit and where my hands are. And I try to be as super efficient as possible with my movements, which really does cut time down on a 6 to 8 hour edit. So while I may have shortcuts for everything, when in a single-handed position, I'm limited to what this hand can do. And if at any point I have to move my hand off, it becomes inefficient, especially if I have to look down at what I'm looking for. But those inefficiencies were less to do with my keyboard, more to do with my mouse, I found. Because most of the time I had to break my rhythm was to do something like, I don't know, grabbing a specific effect from my VST list, like Fab Filter Limiter. Up here, click there, then down to the list down here, then click that, and voila. And yeah, you can easily set that as a favorite or give it a keyboard shortcut. But keyboards have limited space in a specific area of the board that your hand covers, so putting a hotkey over on the number pad doesn't really scream efficient. Unless that is, I put it there, then link it to my Stream Deck. Now, when starting my edit, I have my whole chain ready to go on the deck here. I've got Declick, Deplosive, Spectral Denoise, and Fab Filter Pro L2. That's pretty cool. Now, what about traveling between multi-track and waveform editing? It's a bit of a pain. Again, it's usually over here on the number pad, or you can actually move your mouse across the screen up here. Now it's just beautiful. I've got waveform and I've got multi-track. It's just that easy. Now, when I'm doing a Minds of Madness podcast episode, I do find myself swapping back and forth quite often, so that's actually kind of handy as hell. And really, when talking workflow of editing, there really was only one other big thing, and that was the single monitor approach. You see, dragging and dropping into a timeline, you have to go from folder to timeline. But if you're like me with a single monitor, that's one of the biggest issues, moving your mouse all over the place. From the timeline, down here for the finder, then back up, grab the file, and drop. No, I don't like that. There, it's simple and it's immediate. These little shortcuts will take a ton of time off of a multi-hour edit, and that time can be better used doing something else like, I don't know, gaming. Now, this one isn't about speed, but more about clutter. You see, I hate having a busy area down here. There's too many applications, it's annoying, and can be difficult to navigate. So every program I use, but I don't require it to be constantly down in the dock, I put it on the Stream Deck, like Adobe Audition, Final Cut, Adobe Photoshop, Pages. It's all there. It looks way better on my screen, and I don't have to find myself searching for what I want in a bunch of tiny logos. The beauty of this, though, is that it brings the window to the foreground if you're swapping between those windows. On top of that, I have a few extras on here. They're applications that I regularly break out, but not often enough to put it in the dock, like the calendar and the calculator. Again, as you press them, it just brings them up to the top, which is absolutely brilliant. And finally, there's a couple great options in here. One is Show Desktop, which I really like. It just clears everything out and you get your desktop underneath. And the other one is Force Quit. Oh my God, how many times have I had a program quit that just won't let me get anything out of the way? All I get is that spinning wheel and you can't do anything. That solves it. It's cut down on my hard boots around 80%, which is actually awesome. But all of that pales in comparison to my biggest use case for this Stream Deck in my studio. Now let's talk time savers, and this next one is huge for me. And this is all about the lighting in my studio. Now, studio lighting isn't really all that complicated, but when you start moving a bunch of different brands into the same setup, and you need to turn everything on all at once to shoot a video or to do a video call, it can get a bit silly. Now, I have Govee on the wall as a light stick back there. I have a Philips Hue in the lamp, and of course I've got two lights that are on me, those being Amaran lights, and they're turned on and off by an app called Sidus Link. All of this is a ginormous pain in the arse. Sit down, turn on lights, turn on lights, turn on lights. Now, I have 5 buttons on my Stream Deck, and the best part is turning them off again. That's pretty sweet. And again, the best part is turning them off again, something I get pretty relaxed on when I'm done shooting because it's just a really onerous thing to do every time. Each app has to open, each light has to connect, and then you have to turn it off and then repeat that 3 more times. I absolutely love this. So is this thing a viable option for your studio? I think I'm about 60% filled on this, and I have to wait to go over my workflow with Final Cut. So I do have plans for that as well. And with the ability to swipe for a whole new page, I can see workflows that easily switch depending on what program I'm going to be using or what I'm doing. So this is an easy yes for me. This is going to make my life way easier. Of course, I didn't mention the knobs and the screen, but that's because I'm not using this for gaming. I just put some important information on that. I've got time zones, temperatures, and of course my music. So then the last part of this isn't going to be the usual kind of question. What do you guys like? I want to know from you, what are some awesome hacks for this thing or really any Stream Deck? Let's crowd share some of those so we can let everyone enjoy the benefits of those hacks. Hit me up down below with your ideas, and of course you can join us on our Discord, link is below, to share those ideas as well. Cheers guys, and thanks for watching.